The automatic doors of the luxury hotel slid open with a soft hiss. A well-dressed black man, Darius, stepped inside, his polished shoes tapping lightly on the marble floor. He had just arrived from a long flight, and though his eyes were a little tired, his posture was straight and confident. He carried only a small leather bag which rested lightly in his hand. His dark sunglasses, which he hadn't yet removed, hid much of his expression, but his calm, collected demeanor was obvious to anyone who might glance his way. The lobby of the hotel was grand. Polished floors, shimmering chandeliers, and the hum of quiet conversations filled the space. Guests were scattered about, most of them dressed in expensive clothing, sipping on cocktails or chatting over coffee. The hotel staff moved swiftly, almost as if they were in a dance, attending to the high-paying clients that came and went. No one paid much attention to Darius as he entered, except for one person, the receptionist. Her name was Amber, and she looked up from her computer screen as Darius walked toward the front desk. Her eyes quickly scanned his attire, taking in the clean but simple suit, the small bag, and the way he carried himself. She furrowed her brow slightly, a mix of judgment and indifference crossing her face. It wasn't that Darius looked bad. He didn't. He looked professional, calm, but there was something about him that didn't seem to fit the usual crowd. Maybe it was his quiet confidence, or maybe it was because he didn't look like he belonged to the luxury world that surrounded him. Amber didn't know, but she decided it didn't matter. Without even checking his booking or asking for his ID, she made her decision. "Sorry, we're fully booked," Amber said, her voice flat and dismissive. She didn't smile, and her eyes didn't leave the screen in front of her. Darius paused for a moment, not surprised, but perhaps a little disappointed. He lowered his sunglasses slowly and met her gaze. His voice remained calm as he responded, "I have a reservation under Darius James." Amber's fingers stopped typing. She looked at him for a second longer, her eyes narrowing as if she didn't quite believe him. She quickly glanced at her computer screen again, typing furiously, almost as if she were searching for a reason to prove him wrong. "That name's not in the system," she said with a dismissive tone, the words sharp and final. "Please leave." A few guests in the lobby heard her, and their eyes turned to look. One woman sitting nearby shifted in her seat, subtly covering her nose with a napkin. She frowned and whispered to her friend, but Darius didn't pay any attention to her or the others. He remained calm, like water, still, unshaken. Darius didn't argue. He had experienced these kinds of moments before. The quiet racism, the subtle prejudice. He knew that some people, no matter what you did or said, would never see you for who you truly were. He wasn't angry. He was just disappointed. He took a small step back from the counter, then slowly turned toward the exit. The sound of his footsteps echoed in the grand lobby as the receptionist watched him go, her eyes still narrowed in judgment. As he walked out of the hotel, the doors sliding shut behind him, he didn't look back. But the moment he stepped outside into the bright sunlight, his face hardened with resolve. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. His fingers dialed a number he knew by heart. As the phone rang, he stood still for a moment, waiting. The sun glinted off the car parked in front of the hotel. His grip tightened slightly around the phone. "Hello?" A voice answered on the other end, smooth and professional. "It's time," Darius said calmly. The words were simple, but filled with meaning. His voice was steady, but there was an undeniable fire beneath it. There was a pause on the other side of the line, followed by a low chuckle. "Got it. We'll take care of it." Darius didn't say another word. He hung up the phone and looked up at the hotel. The large glass windows reflected his image, but this time the people inside had no idea who he truly was. That would soon change. He turned around and walked to the black car waiting for him at the curb. The driver, a tall man in a dark suit, opened the door for him. Darius slid inside, and the door closed behind him with a soft thud. As the car began to drive away, Darius leaned back in the seat. His eyes were no longer tired. His mind was sharp, focused. There was a purpose behind every step he took, and he knew it. He had been underestimated for far too long, and now it was time for them all to realize who he really was. As the car sped down the road, Darius's thoughts turned to the hotel, to the receptionist who had judged him without knowing a thing about him, to the guests who had watched him with quiet, curious eyes. They would all remember this moment, because soon he would own this hotel, and when he did, everything would change. The sun had barely set by the time Darius pulled up to the hotel again. This time he wasn't alone. The sleek black car came to a smooth stop outside the grand entrance, the headlights illuminating the polished stone steps. Darius stepped out of the car, his tailored suit looking impeccable under the fading light. As he walked toward the hotel, he could feel the eyes of the guests in the lobby turn to watch him. The same staff members who had ignored him just hours before were still at their posts, but none of them recognized him immediately. Darius walked up to the front desk with the same calm confidence he had shown earlier. Amber, the receptionist, was busy typing something on her computer. She didn't notice him at first. He cleared his throat gently, and she looked up, expecting to see another guest who would need assistance. Her eyes widened when she saw him, her smile instantly fading. She blinked a few times as if trying to place his face. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice suddenly quieter. She didn't know why, but there was something in his expression that made her feel uneasy. "I was here earlier today," Darius replied, his voice smooth but carrying an undertone of authority that wasn't there before. "You asked me to leave." Amber's face flushed. She remembered him now. How could she forget the way he had walked out without a word of protest? And yet, he was standing in front of her again. Something didn't sit right. She stammered, "I'm sorry, sir, is there a problem?" Darius didn't answer her right away. Instead, he pulled out his phone and tapped on the screen, pulling up an email. He slid the phone across the counter, where Amber could see the screen. It was an official-looking document with the hotel's logo on top. The subject line read, "Ownership Transfer, Darius James." Amber's eyes widened, her breath catching in her throat. She looked up at Darius, trying to process what she was seeing. This couldn't be real, could it? Darius looked her in the eye and said, "I now own this hotel." Amber froze. Her hands shook slightly, and she quickly glanced around, hoping someone, anyone, would come to explain this. But there was no one. It was just her and him. Before she could respond, the door to the hotel lobby opened, and a group of well-dressed people walked in. They weren't just any group. They were a team of legal representatives, real estate agents, and hotel executives. They were here for a very specific purpose. A tall man in a suit carrying a briefcase walked directly up to Darius. "Mr. James," he said, extending a hand. "Everything is in place. We're ready to move forward." The tension in the room was palpable. Amber, still standing behind the desk, felt her stomach turn. She wanted to speak up, to ask what was going on, but she couldn't find her voice. Darius shook the man's hand, a small smile playing on his lips. "Perfect. Let's get this started," he replied. Amber watched as the group of professionals began to move through the hotel. They seemed to have complete authority, far more than she had ever imagined anyone could have. She watched them walk down the hallway, her mind racing. What was happening? How could this man she had brushed aside, have become the owner of the very hotel that had just rejected him? As Darius turned to leave, he looked at Amber one last time, his expression unreadable. He said nothing, but there was a quiet confidence in his gaze that made Amber feel small and insignificant. But Darius didn't need to say anything. His presence spoke volumes. The next morning, the staff gathered for a routine meeting in the hotel's grand conference room. The usual buzz of chatter filled the air as employees took their seats, the sound of coffee cups being set down and papers being shuffled echoing throughout the room. But there was an unusual tension this time. Word had quickly spread through the hotel that something big had happened the night before, and everyone was talking about Darius James. Amber sat quietly at the back of the room, her thoughts racing. She still couldn't shake the image of the email, the one that confirmed Darius was now the hotel's owner. It didn't make sense. How could someone like him, someone they had turned away, accused of not being good enough, now be the one calling the shots? As the meeting started, Mr. Harris, the general manager of the hotel, stood at the front of the room. He cleared his throat and addressed the staff. "Good morning, everyone," he began. His voice was shaky, his usual confident tone absent. "I'm sure you've all heard the rumors, and I'm here to confirm them. Mr. Darius James is now the official owner of this hotel." The room went silent. No one spoke. Some employees exchanged nervous glances while others were frozen in disbelief. Amber could barely breathe. She had been right. The man they had rejected was now in control. Mr. Harris continued, his voice strained. "I know this is a lot to take in, but we must all understand the gravity of this situation. Mr. James has made it clear that there will be changes. He has already brought in a team to start restructuring the hotel." The murmurs grew louder as the staff members processed the news. They were all trying to figure out what this meant for their jobs, their future, and the way things had always been done at the hotel. Just then, the door to the conference room opened, and in walked Darius, looking as calm and confident as ever. He was dressed in a sharp suit, his posture straight and commanding. He didn't say a word as he walked to the front of the room, but his presence filled the space, making everyone stand a little straighter. Darius took a seat at the head of the table and nodded for Mr. Harris to continue. Amber's heart pounded in her chest as she watched Darius. She couldn't stop thinking about how she had treated him the day before, how dismissive she had been. And now, here he was, sitting as the new owner of the hotel. How had she not seen it before? There was so much more to him than she had realized. Mr. Harris, looking uncertain, handed Darius the floor. "Good morning," Darius said, his voice steady and strong. "I'm sure this is a shock to all of you, but I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here to build something better. I've spent a long time working hard to get where I am, and I expect the same from the team here. We will be working together to make this hotel the best it can be, but I will not tolerate disrespect no matter who it's directed at." There was a silence as the room absorbed his words. Darius's gaze scanned the room, his eyes landing on Amber for a brief moment. He didn't say anything, but Amber couldn't escape the weight of his look. It was as if he was silently telling her that the past had been forgiven, but she had to prove herself now. Darius continued, "I expect professionalism, I expect excellence, and I expect everyone to treat our guests with respect. We will not repeat the mistakes of yesterday." The room was still, but Amber could feel the shift in the air. There was a change coming, and it wasn't just about the hotel. It was about everything. The way people treated each other, the way they viewed success, and the way they saw themselves. The days following Darius's takeover were a whirlwind of change. Employees were walking on eggshells, unsure of what to expect next. The once quiet, predictable hotel had transformed into a high-pressure environment. Staff members who had once felt untouchable were now scrambling to prove their worth to the new owner. Darius wasn't just another wealthy businessman. He was someone who demanded excellence, and it was clear that nothing less would be accepted. Amber, who had been working as a front desk receptionist for 3 years, felt a mix of fear and curiosity. She couldn't shake the feeling that her treatment of Darius the night before had set the stage for what was happening now. She'd always prided herself on her professionalism, but seeing him walk into the meeting that day, so calm, so poised, had made her realize just how wrong she had been. He wasn't some regular person. He was a man who had made something of himself and wasn't about to let anything slide. She'd heard whispers from the staff, rumors about how Darius had already made some big changes. Some of the employees were nervous, others intrigued, but no one dared to question the new order. The hotel's atmosphere had shifted overnight, from a place where the guests' needs were the focus to a place where performance and efficiency reigned supreme. One morning, Amber arrived at work to find a small group of employees gathered around the staff bulletin board, staring at a new notice. She walked over and scanned the list. It was a list of performance expectations from Darius himself. It included everything from guest interaction protocols to cleaning schedules. The new rules were clear: no more slacking, no more shortcuts. The thought of having to live up to such high standards left Amber feeling uncertain, but also motivated. The pressure was on for everyone, and she knew this was her chance to either prove herself or fade into the background. As the day went on, things only intensified. The hotel now had a new security system, new managers, and a completely revamped menu for the restaurant. Darius had even brought in a marketing team to rebrand the hotel, turning it into something more luxurious, more exclusive. The changes were sweeping, and everyone felt the weight of them. In the afternoon, Amber found herself standing at the front desk, handling a booking for an important guest. She was busy when her manager, Lisa, walked up to her with a message from Darius. He wanted to meet with her personally. Her heart skipped a beat. What could he want with her? Had he heard about how she treated him the night before? Was she going to lose her job? The thought of facing him again made her stomach churn, but she knew there was no avoiding it. She made her way to Darius's office, a large, elegantly furnished space with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. Darius was standing by the window when she entered. He turned and gave her a small but knowing smile. "Amber," he said, his voice steady and kind, "I've been watching your work, and I wanted to meet you. You've been doing a good job, and I want to make sure you understand the changes we're making here." Amber stood frozen, unsure of what to say. Darius motioned to the chair across from him, signaling for her to sit. "I understand the pressure everyone's under," he continued, his tone now more serious. "But you've been doing well. Just keep it up, and you'll find this new system works for you. We're all in this together." Amber was stunned. She had been preparing herself for a reprimand, but instead, Darius was acknowledging her hard work. She hadn't expected this. There was a part of her that had feared he would use her as an example, someone to make a point out of. But this was different. This was about collaboration, not domination. She wasn't just a small cog in a machine. He saw her as part of the team. "I'm glad you came to talk," Amber said, her voice trembling slightly. I wasn't sure how to approach everything after yesterday. I didn't expect this kind of change." Darius smiled. "Change is easy, but it's necessary for growth. The hotel can't stay the same forever. We're building something new, and I want everyone to be a part of it. That includes you." Amber nodded, feeling a wave of relief wash over her. For the first time since Darius's arrival, she felt like she had a chance to succeed. As the conversation came to a close, Darius added one final thought. "Amber, I'm not here to make life harder. I'm here to make it better. For all of us. If you work hard and show dedication, you'll see this hotel grow, and you'll grow with it." Amber left his office with a renewed sense of purpose. She had feared that her actions the night before would cost her everything, but now she understood. Darius wasn't just someone who had power. He was someone who understood the value of hard work, of second chances. Amber couldn't stop thinking about her meeting with Darius. His calm demeanor and the way he spoke about teamwork had left a lasting impression on her. She had feared being judged for her past actions, but instead, she was offered a glimpse into something bigger. It wasn't just a job anymore. It was a chance to be part of something important. The next morning, Amber arrived at the hotel early, determined to prove herself. As she walked through the lobby, she noticed that things had already started to change. The floors were shining, the plants were perfectly arranged, and the staff seemed to be working with more energy than ever before. There was a renewed sense of pride in the air, and Amber felt it too. It was then that her manager, Lisa, approached her. "Amber, Darius wants to see you again. He's got something he wants to discuss," Lisa said, her voice tinged with curiosity. Her stomach twisted. Was this it? Had she messed up again? But no, this was different. Darius had already shown her that he believed in her. She took a deep breath and followed Lisa to his office. When she entered, Darius was sitting behind his desk, reviewing some papers. He looked up and smiled warmly. "Good morning, Amber. I'm glad you're here." "Good morning. Amber replied, trying to sound confident though her heart was racing. "Have a seat," Darius said, motioning to the chair opposite him. "I've been thinking about your role here, and I believe you're capable of more than just being a receptionist. You've shown a lot of potential, and I'd like to give you an opportunity to step up." Amber's eyes widened. "Step up?" she repeated, unsure she had heard him correctly. "Yes," Darius said, nodding. "I want you to take on more responsibility. I'm promoting you to the position of assistant manager. You'll be overseeing the front desk operations and managing some of the daily tasks around here. I know it's a big change, but I believe you're ready." Amber's mind raced. She had never imagined anything like this. Just days ago, she had feared she might lose her job, but now she was being offered a promotion. She had worked hard, but she never thought her efforts would be noticed in such a big way. This was her chance to prove herself even further. I don't know what to say," Amber stammered, overwhelmed with emotion. Darius smiled again, his gaze steady and confident. "You don't have to say anything, Amber. Just show me what you can do. You've got the drive and the passion, and that's what I look for in my team. I want to give you the tools to succeed. But remember, this isn't just about the job. It's about making this hotel the best it can be. And that starts with all of us working together." Amber nodded, the weight of his words settling in. She felt a surge of determination. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about proving herself to Darius, to the hotel, and to herself. But just as she was about to leave, Darius stopped her. "One more thing," he said, his tone more serious now. "You've got a lot of work ahead of you, but I know you're up for the challenge. There's one person who needs to see this change too, the receptionist who turned you away the other day. Make sure she understands what it means to treat people with respect." Amber's stomach churned at the thought of confronting her colleague, but she nodded. "I'll handle it." As she left Darius's office, Amber's mind was racing. This promotion was a huge opportunity, but it came with a responsibility she wasn't sure she was fully prepared for. How could she make sure the hotel's atmosphere truly changed? How could she get through to her colleagues who had been so used to the old ways? She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but Amber also knew one thing for certain. She was no longer just an ordinary employee. She was part of something bigger, and she wasn't about to let this chance slip away. Amber walked over to the front desk, her heart pounding in her chest. She had always been the quiet type, avoiding conflict whenever possible. But today, she had to confront the past. She had been given a chance to make things right, and she wasn't about to back down now. Lisa was still talking to the receptionist, Rachel. Rachel looked uncomfortable, her eyes flickering nervously toward Amber. Amber could feel the tension in the air as she approached them. "Rachel," Amber said, her voice steady but firm. "Can we talk?" Rachel's eyes widened, and she swallowed hard. Sure," she replied, her tone unsure. Lisa gave Amber an encouraging nod before walking away, leaving the two women alone. The moment of truth had arrived. "I just wanted to say that I didn't appreciate how I was treated the other day," Amber began, her voice calm but direct. "I understand that you might have been doing your job, but the way you treated me wasn't okay. I don't think anyone should be judged based on their appearance or background." Rachel shifted uncomfortably but didn't interrupt. Amber could see that she was struggling with what to say, but Amber wasn't going to let this moment slip away. "I know we all have our roles to play here," Amber continued, "but we also have to be better than that. Darius is giving all of us a chance to prove ourselves. That's what this hotel is about, respecting each other, no matter where we come from. I know I'm new here, but I want to be part of that change, and I think you do too." Rachel's face softened. She looked down at the desk, her fingers nervously tapping on the counter. "You're right," she muttered, her voice quieter. "Now I'm sorry, I shouldn't have judged you, I was wrong." Amber nodded, relieved. "It's okay, but it's important that we all remember this. We're a team, and we all need to support each other no matter what." Rachel sighed, then looked up at Amber, a small smile appearing on her face. "I'll do better, I promise." Amber smiled back. She had done it. She had faced the awkwardness, the tension, and had turned it into an opportunity for growth. It wasn't easy, but it felt good to have made things right. She had shown Rachel and herself that standing up for what's right was always worth it. As Amber walked away, she felt a sense of pride that she hadn't felt in a long time. This wasn't just about a promotion. This wasn't just about making the hotel better. This was about changing the way people saw each other. It was about respect, about lifting each other up, no matter where they came from or how they looked. And the best part? She was a part of that change.